Hello, welcome to the Race War, episode 240. You are joined by Fenian, of course, and I've got Nolsey and Fluoride with me. How you take on, boys?
Yeah, glad to be back.
Zesty.
Have you recovered from whatever illness you had on Saturday, Nolsey, that you couldn't join us?
I recovered from being a fucking retard and not checking my DMs. Yes.
Oh, was that all? Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was like, dude, just that's why I gave you my phone number, man. Just fucking call me. I'm a boomer.
Okay. I think I had your number anyway. I'm just so used to just sending messages that I don't even think about. like mobile phone is like old technology to me now, or at least using the call function is. Okay, so, well, guys, we did of course cover the WA election on Saturday, so go check that out. That's at the Racer Decides, but just go to the racer.biz if you want all the links to that. We will open by just kind of giving a quick kind of recap and a couple of news stories from that election. So, F5ing the ABC News site, we've got 64.4% of the vote counted. Labor have secured a whopping 41 seats. Remember, you only needed to get to 30 to actually claim a majority. The Liberals are on 5, the Nationals on 4. So far, Other is on 0. However, the seat of Fremantle is largely tipped to go to an independent. Well, I shouldn't even say that. A teal. It's going to go to a teal. Kate Hewlett. So, yeah. So this was. I mean, look, people were still predicting a Labor win and even a Labor landslide. I don't know if so many people were predicting another Labor blowout, though, because that is effectively what this is. It is almost as bad, at least if you go simply on the amount of seats that they won, it is almost as bad as 2021. Taking the Libs and the Nats as a whole, taking them as the coalition, they have only picked up an extra 3 seats. So, yeah, I mean, altogether they had 6, 2021, now they've got 9. And so even a lot of those inner metropolitan seats, so, for example, South Perth, Scarborough, Riverton, Bateman, those seats were tipped to fall back to Liberal, and they are traditionally blue ribbon seats. They've even had leaders from those electorates. Labor retained all of those. And even in the case of Churchlands, where, of course, you had the celebrity candidate Basil Zemplis running, he has won that. However, it was too close to call for much of the night. So even in Churchlands, that very, very leafy electorate, Basil Zemplis won, but not comfortably. So even that was a bit of a disappointment for them, especially given that he's largely touted now to become the next leader. So,
maybe still popular among like whatever Liberal Party supporting demographic is around here. You know, I guess there's enough of them to get was it 5 or 4 seats?
The Libs got 5 and the Nats got 4.
Okay, yeah. So enough to get 5 seats, but I am still yet to meet someone in the general public who likes Basil.
No, and even over on Sky News, they don't like him either. Because of the fact that he's not a conviction politician. You know, he's just one of those guys who's just sort of climbed the social strata in Perth and just sort of found politics to be like a natural progression in his career. And that's why he's there. He knows that with that name recognition and popularity, that could translate into some political success. But was this a guy who was ever like a dyed-in-the-wool conservative?
Oh,
No,
fuck no.
no way. I mean, when he started doing commentary, it was all sport. He didn't do politics at all. That was a very kind of recent thing for him. So, nonetheless, that doesn't mean he can't win an election.
Yeah.
I would question, though, his ability to win the next WA election, which would be 2029. And that's because when you have been given such a thumping defeat, that almost guarantees that you're going to lose the next election as well. I mean, that's what everyone said 2021. They're like, okay, because this is so big, Labor are guaranteed to win 2025 as well. But now this one was so big for Labor that you could say they're almost guaranteed to secure 2029 as well. That would be 4 terms of Labor in power, which is, yeah, that's very rare, especially for Labor. Labor never, either at the state or the federal level, they never hold on for that long. So it's quite extraordinary. And also in WA, we're said to be like the naturally conservative state. And, to an extent, Queensland
Yeah.
gets that label as well. For example, in 2007, when Kevin Rudd was elected Prime Minister, WA was the only state, in fact, the only jurisdiction, I believe, that voted majority coalition. So times have changed, you could definitely say.
Because a lot of time and money has been put into Western Australia in order to flip it.
Yeah. So, just one thing to do with the logistics of it. I certainly didn't get this problem when I went to vote, but they reckon there was a shortage of ballot paper.
There was
have
at mine.
There was?
So the first place that I actually went to was one of the smaller places, and they turned us away, saying they ran out of ballot papers, but they gave us like another location reasonably nearby to go to.
Okay. Because I've just never heard of that kind of thing happening before. That's something that happens in a third world country, but not in Australia. Yeah, so they were saying that like some people were queuing for hours, like as they got extra paper in. There were other polling stations that stayed open to 7 p.m. so everyone there could still vote. And I mean, a lot
Well,
of
that would
people
have been
still,
annoying.
yeah. And imagine if you didn't get to vote and then you copped the fine, even though you turned up. It's not your fault that you didn't vote. So
Did they have any sort of electronic alternative, or is it all got to be on paper?
Not over
no, that's the thing.
here.
Yeah, it's all paper, and it's still all with no ID. Why is it that we take, when it comes to the act of voting, like we have to keep it primitive?
I guess they don't want it to be kind of a cooling effect on those people who didn't bring their wallet. Their fucking ID. People who walked
Maybe.
out of the bush and decided to vote that day, or got off a bus.
Yeah. So I mean, look, one of the things they're putting it down to is that the Electoral Commission did go with a new recruitment company called Purcell Kelly, and they said, because a lot of those staff were responsible for providing the ballot paper, and they were just saying like these people that this labour hire company got were just basically incompetent. So that shows you
The
how
first
good
one I
labour
went
hire is.
to, I was going to say, like, Finian has like a general idea, and so I said, well, of where I am right now. Not all that many fucking Indians up this way, but Jesus fucking Christ, both polling centers look like I stepped into goddamn fucking Mumbai.
Well, yeah. Look, it all depends. Like something I've really noticed in Perth is the northern suburbs are way whiter than the southern suburbs. And particularly with Indians, like Indians exclusively live in the southern suburbs of Perth. I don't know why that
Yep.
is, but it's true.
Where they're getting centralized there.
Oh god, we should need to share them around. More of them, you should go north, just so I don't have to put up with them. So
Up to host a party up here sooner rather than later.
All right, so yeah, the Teal candidate. So this was Kate Hewlett. Um, this is the one. Like as soon as I saw her campaign website and her number one issue was climate, I was like, okay, Teal, right there. You know, if you're not a Green, but you're running as an independent and climate is at the top of your agenda, then you're guaranteed to be a Teal. And another funny thing about like her agenda, her supposed agenda, was that she wanted to take big money out of politics. Is that right? Who is funding you, Kate Hewlett? Simon Holmes, the court is the billionaire trust fund boy, um, just like he's funding a myriad of other candidates coming up in the federal election. So they're putting it down to look. It looks like she's actually beaten a Labor minister. So yeah, she was the water minister, Simone McGurk, and just to do with the sheer amount of money that was poured into this campaign, she's managed to topple a Labor minister. And this is the seat of Fremantle, by the way, which we've talked about a few times. Fremantle is like our sort of hippie city,
Hmm.
or at least it
There's,
was.
there's a yeah, but yeah, now it's just fucking homeless people and it's there's massive division there now because you used to have like this kind of like weird kind of student bohemian culture stuff there because there's universities and shit there. Like Notre Dame literally built in to the fucking shoreside. But now it's so fucking funny because I've been there a handful of times more recently, and it is like walled off with private security patrols around those heritage houses that like multi-millionaires buy up, and just homeless Aboriginals everywhere else.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot of them. Yeah, Fremantle is a big mix. Like it started off kind of working class with the wharfies because that's where like our
Yep.
main ports are, and but then it became like a place for like rich hippie boomers to buy their
Waterfront
property.
properties. Yeah.
Yep. Oh well, actually,
Historic
like
waterfront.
if you guys know Ben Elton, the comedian, he was the guy who he co-created the Young Ones, for example, a bunch of other stuff too. Blackadder. Yeah, he lives on one of those waterfront properties in Fremantle. So yeah, there's bloody expensive property
With an
over there.
exceptionally high wall.
Yeah, so you can gather that you know from these kind of
He's from a
demographics,
German Jewish family.
Oh God.
but these are all the kind of people who would vote Teal. You know, not the homeless
Yes.
Aborigines, but you know the
They
ones
would
at the
vote for
waterfront.
more alcohol in their system immediately.
Yeah. Okay, now if we want to look at if there are any white pills for the coalition at all, okay, well one is that I don't know how accurate this is, but Sky News said that there was an overall 18% swing in favour of the coalition, all up. That sounded a bit inflated to me, and it is Sky News, so you know, press X to doubt on that. But no doubt, still they got a swing towards them. I still don't know if that's such a big white pill because everyone was expecting a much bigger swing and a much larger amount of seats to be reclaimed, and that just didn't happen. So the other thing, though, is that well, I got this from the ABC. They said that there were swings of up to 20% against Labor in some regional areas. So that doesn't surprise me at all. So the Nationals still only ended up, though, with 4 seats, which is the same amount that they got in 2021. So again, like with these swings, they don't translate into actual seats regained. But yeah, you know, if there's one thing they can talk about, it's just swings against Labor, swings towards the coalition. Now, unfortunately, the Greens got a big swing as well. They're not projected to win any lower house seats, but they are predicted to get plenty of upper house seats, and they are claiming that they will hold the balance of power, which, of course, is never a good thing. But anyway, there's really not much count done yet or analysis of the upper house yet. So I guess we'll keep you posted on that. Okay, let's just talk a little bit about Cyclone Alfred. So we know that the worst of it did not eventuate, as a lot of people were predicting.
Mm.
We've just gotten some, pretty bad rain and storms from it, but thankfully not the billions of dollars of property damage that I saw Jim Chalmer predicting. Now, this could actually be the natural disaster that has meant we're not going to get an early election. Albo did not want to take any risks because natural disasters and how you respond to them can have an enormous effect on your popularity. And we all remember Scott Morrison saying that he doesn't hold a hose when those bushfires were going on. Also, the fact that at the beginning he was actually on a holiday in Hawaii.
Wrong place to be.
It absolutely was. And then he was doing things like he was forcing people to shake his hand and stuff. real cringe moment. Albo knew that, he couldn't be caught dead doing any of that stuff. So he had to be out there, front row center, making plans for relief efforts and also talking about how he wasn't going to let an election campaign distract him. So since then, the budget has been called for March 27, and that actually means that the very earliest we could have a federal election would be the 3rd of May. So we're guaranteed a May election now, and it may well have been the cyclone that did that. Now, Peter Dutton, on the other hand, he hasn't escaped criticism over his reaction to the cyclone because he went to Sydney for a fundraising event and he defended honouring his diary commitments, as he put it. And the thing is, though, this was a private event at the house of Justin Hems, who is like a hospitality multimillionaire. So,
It's not going to look good.
No, and especially after Dutton, has gotten this criticism for, owning $30 million worth of property and
Oh God, yeah.
insider trading, effectively, hanging out at some rich guy's mansion while the flooding is happening and everything. Yeah, not a good look. Not a great look.
Yeah. Even if there's literally, you couldn't be standing there with a fucking umbrella trying to stop it. Even if there's nothing you can do, public sentiment's a kind of a thing when it comes to that.
I still remember that one fucking leftard breaking down like property ownership, and I had to give him the dub. I have to give him the fat dub on this because it's like he didn't actually take away what you should have taken away from that little bit of analysis he did. Because it's like, oh my god, look, the political class has a vested interest in property going up, and their main funders are the property lobbyists and etc. And then the answer is, this is all about the capitalism and the capitalism, property ownership, capitalism, and my money and my greedy developers that don't develop quick enough, and building industry being lazy, more Indians for building industry, rather than like, hey, can we just not import, a little over 1 million fucking Indians over the past 2 years?
All right, so talking more broadly about the economy. So as I said, 27th of March is the budget. Some people have speculated that maybe the cyclone would not have made a difference here because the government wanted to fit in one last budget before the election. And along with that, of course, you would have a whole bunch of budget sweeteners to effectively pork barrel and vote buy. Certainly not an unheard of tactic that governments use. So Jim Chalmers is going to be touting the fact that we did actually, or we've just gotten out of a per capita recession. Very not by much though. So the ABS said that our GDP expanded in the last quarter by 0.6%. So not very much at all.
Hmm.
That probably means we will not get an interest rate cut in April. And, the government really needed to get at least 2 interest rate cuts in to improve its record in that regard. So, I don't know. I don't know if the public is going to be all that receptive of the fact that we experienced 0.6% growth in the last quarter. Probably not. So it's probably going to depend on all of the cost of living, uh, like vouchers, basically, that they give you. I'm sure that there's going to be things like credits to your electricity bill.
Maybe.
Remember, Labor was promised to slash your bill by $275 a year.
That's going to make a
Well, the only way
massive
they can
dent.
do that, the only way they can do that is just by giving you the money. That's it. The bill isn't going to come down by itself. All right. Okay, now, the budget deficit is on track to be $11 billion below Treasury forecasts. And so that's on the back of a tax take estimated to be $12 billion higher than projected. But if you look at the comments of some economists, so in this case it was Chris Richardson, he says that actually really has nothing to do with any politician. So no Australian government policy has actually contributed to that. Nonetheless, having a budget deficit is pretty much the norm in Australia at the moment at every level. So if Chalmers can come here and sell us on that, well, that's a small positive. But again, like we don't really care about budget surpluses in the same way we did under the Howard government, for example. I remember back then that was always like a big, big thing. Like they would always brag about their budget surplus, and that being like the key indicator of good economic management. People nowadays just care about how much things cost and how much the rent is and how much a mortgage is. They really don't actually care about the accounting records of the government.
Yeah. So. People don't have enough time to look upon the horizon, staring at the fucking hole in the ground I've been dug into.
Also, I don't believe that people are under the same illusion that the budget really is going to have that much of an immediate, or as immediate as they'd like it to be, tangible effect on the degradation of their status of living or quality of life. I don't think people are disillusioned by that anymore. Rightfully or wrongfully.
It would be good to look at your nation's economy and say, wow, we're doing well.
No one fucking does that anymore. People are just like, motherfucker, how can I eat? How can I afford pizza? Motherfucker, my next water bill is going to rape me. The postman may as well just drop his pants when he comes to my letterbox.
So the last story on the economy, the electrical sector. They said they need urgent funding for vocational training, and that is to meet up with the housing and emissions reduction targets. So they're saying basically that they need more electricians and other kind of electrical workers to build the houses that the government has planned. But also, they say that there's a shortfall of 17,400 energy sector workers that would be needed for the, what do they call it, the Future Made in Australia program to manufacture green energy products. So I don't know if it would be that intensive to need all of that. But there is just a general shortage of electrical workers. That's definitely true. We would have that no matter if we were moving towards green energy or not.
Is this just in Western Australia? Because I mean, fly in, fly out sort of thing, and just poach from the
No,
eastern
no, this
states.
is Australia wide. Australia wide.
Yeah.
Uh,
Pleased to be redeeming copper by using a gauge that is way too fucking small and setting your house on fire. Pleased to be connecting up suburb by wrapping two wires around a open contact with pliers.
oh yeah, how long until it's going to look like those in fucking Thailand, where there's just a hell of a lot of fucking wiring sitting up on those poles? Who knows what it goes to? Like a fucking jungle vine.
I've been honestly, man. Probably we'll see it within our lifetime. We'll see it.
Import the third world, get the third world.
There's okay, so they're not accepting trade degrees from India and etc. just yet.
Oh,
But
now.
for now, they will be.
Yeah, for now. I mean, every
Yeah,
time we always
it's just a
we
tip
update
first. I'm only going this far in, and then slowly it keeps going further. And
Look, I
Yeah,
know,
we-
I know,
we-
I know we're doom and gloom on a lot of this kind of stuff, but there does need to be some genuinely large institutional corruption that needs to go on from bottom to top for there to be, actual Indianisms. Because again, a genuine electrical inspection has to go through. There has to be a regulatory body and blah blah blah. But eventually, they'll be replaced with enough people from the subcontinent of India
handshakers.
that handshake is dollar banknote exchanges for handshakes, because that's again, that's just the way of the world.
Their world. Our
Yes.
world, I don't like our apartment buildings bursting into flames. Fucking planes falling out of the sky.
Okay. We'll move on to industrial relations. And, geez, even though they're in administration, the CFMEU can't help but still make the news. So
Woo!
this time, this is to do with their behaviour in Melbourne, specifically the Melbourne Metro Tunnel, a big project there. Now, this is where they've actually been accused of colluding with a labour hire company called MC Labour. Now, usually what happens is the CFMEU is just its own labour hire. They hate labour hire groups and they just kind of force them out, and they appoint the labour themselves. In this case, they've been working with MC Labour, and 2 union officials have been sacked, and this is to do with them issuing invoices for work that simply was not done. So MC Labour were getting paid for work and shifts that simply did not occur on the project. So Zach Smith, who is the secretary of the CFMEU, he said the union has taken action and we strongly condemn this behaviour. And MC Labour said that they've welcomed the investigation into the company's work. So, yeah.
Well, looks like it was taken care of inside without any government noticing. And they stack them and let everybody know, yep, these people were being corrupt. We sacked the fuck out of them. And problem solved. So they've done that,
Well,
but it's still going to be used as a hammer to beat them over the head with.
well, they haven't sacked anyone from MC Labour, though. It's only been 2 CFMEU members. So, yeah, I don't know.
The delegates.
Yes. But yeah, that's the first time I've ever read about something like that. Like, labour hire is just, like a mortal enemy of the CFMEU. But now they're like actually working in tandem with them, which is strange.
Weird times have made strange bedfellows of us all.
Mm.
Dude, I remember labor hires literally just being like, we found this dude. We got this dude off a boat. He doesn't speak English, and he may or may not be high on methamphetamine when he comes to your workplace.
But boy, is he a good mate.
Boy, you're going to pay us $30 an hour, and we are going to have him on contract for 18. Again, another case of legal slavery in this country.
Yeah. Well, undercutting prices is a job of its own.
So let's talk a bit about working from home. Now, the coalition has effectively declared a war on working from home, particularly when it comes to the public sector. So the Shadow Finance Minister, Jane Hume, has been going over research that was released. And the ABC pointed out, funnily enough, and we don't know if Jane Hume realized this herself, but the very report that she referenced actually said that working 1 or 2 days a week from home would be good for productivity. Now, what she's saying is that when it comes to public sector jobs anyway, that there should be no work from home days whatsoever. It's just 5 days a week in the office. Now, she said that some people in the public service are not taking seriously enough the taxpayer money that they are helping spend. So, this is a classic liberal against the bureaucrats rhetoric that they're taking up here. Even though the research she cited actually says no, you should let them work a couple of days at home. Now, even though, I think, this is somewhat ideological in that, the Liberals hate the idea of public sector workers taking the piss because they're taxpayer funded. And as we also know, public sector workers are almost entirely off the left, even those in the higher positions in management. So there's that.
Hippies of the 60s, man. Hippies of the 60s. What can I say? Actually, no, not hippies of the 60s. Fuck, that'll make them retired by now. So what? Yeah, hippies of the 70s. Late term
There's
hippies.
an incredible amount of hair dye used, and it's more commonly like the women over 50.
You're gonna start using hair dye.
But look, the other reason, though, I remember when they were first, when COVID went on, and that kind of accustomed a lot of people to working from home, and they sort of wanted to keep those arrangements even after the lockdowns ended. The business lobby were dead against that. And why is that? Well, because, let's let Nolsey back in. They were against it because,
thank you, Internet.
What do public sector workers do in their lunch break and their morning tea break? Well, they go off and they spend their money. They buy coffee, they buy food. And this was something that inner city businesses really relied on,
Oh, here in Sydney, it was a fucking ghost town. Nary a fucking place was able to keep open with everybody not having to be in and coughing all over each other. It was devastating for the sandwich businesses, the fucking cafes, the coffee shops.
But I'll say this, even though bougie hipster, LED but vintage style lamp, weird fucking dumb slogans on the wall, they're still owned by lower middle class people. Those businesses, those are still aspirational type people, and the destruction of those things was a massive wealth transfer because the only things that could survive that were franchisees and etc.
Starbucks was there.
Starbucks fucking survived. You better believe it. I remember the time the New South Wales poll were very proud of them beating the ever loving piss out of the owner of a cafe shop because he was like literally like going right against the black letter law, and some cop decided he didn't like it and beat the piss out of him. But yeah, no, I still have a lot of sympathy for those kinds of business owners.
Yeah, but look, I think one of the big reasons why the Libs are pushing for this is because the business lobby is telling them, no, we want government workers to work in the city so that they buy our products. But Jane Hume is just trying to say, no, it's all about productivity. And she's just saying that, people are being lazy, and when they're working from home, they don't work as hard.
Well, I can see you can't really squeeze any more utility out of a person than what you ask them to do. And actually not being able to physically put a piece of paper in in front of somebody does kind of reduce the productivity than turning in. But God, that must be really good for the people's actual lifestyles. Being able to be at home, make their own food, not drag themselves through the traffic, pull their hairs out. Talking about getting grey hairs, the traffic will do that to you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I basically support, if you've got an office job like that, 2 days a week at home is probably good. I will agree with Jane Hume that, yeah, working entirely or almost entirely from home is probably not a great thing. It wouldn't be a great thing for you mentally either, I don't think, because that's extremely isolating. You're just there working by yourself 8 hours a day, no one else around you. And that, I certainly wouldn't like to do that. And some people did get used to an arrangement like that. And, not great for your mental health, I don't think.
I mean, you get 2 hours more of your day to your life, as opposed to 2 hours spent on the road to and from.
Oh yeah, there's that. And that's why I say like a couple of days at home is good, because yeah, it adds a little bit more flexibility, cuts commute times, that kind of thing. But yeah, but at the same time, you don't want to like entirely sever human interaction from your working life. I don't know if that's
Well, yeah, it
that'd be
is
good.
some of the only place people meet up together and start families.
Yes, yeah. So look, criticism of this plan by the coalition. Of course, they've said that it would mostly disadvantage women
Uh,
because women are the ones who, pick up the kids from childcare and that kind of thing. Or maybe they actually keep the kids at home while they're working from home. So Peter Dutton on this said it doesn't discriminate against people on the basis of gender. It is for public servants. It doesn't have an impact, and we are not going to shy away from the fact that this is taxpayer money. I want to ensure we have an efficient public service. Well, yeah, we're not accusing you of actually, applying the policy based on gender. I don't think that was ever the point. The point is that it tends to be that women are the ones who need more of that flexibility because they tend to be looking after the kids and all that kind of thing. It would be good though if it just encouraged them to quit their jobs. If it had that effect,
Yeah,
that would be.
I think literally one of the best social. Like just if I was to name one thing that you could just genie fix in an instance, the mass participation of women in the workforce would be one of the biggest things that would fix us socially.
yeah,
Definitely.
so women could actually fix society around them. Say, hey, this is bullshit, and get the hubby on it when he gets back home, and basically work together. I do have an appreciation for women and their ability to fix society. Let on their own, they'll do that. Stuck, fucking digging a ditch, twirling lollipops, and running a tractor. Seems a waste of their talents.
Yeah.
No, let's be honest. They're not. They're not there. They're doing a do nothing fuck job at some part of a corporate ladder. They're doing some kind of art focused or fucking admin centric stuff. Find me a woman. Find me a large female employment industry that isn't nursing, administration, or middle management corporate.
Construction. All the ladies sitting outside the thing, making sure
Traffic
traffic's
control.
going good.
Yes,
They're
traffic control is
controlling
one of them.
traffic and basically taking up the easy job, which the light duties you do when you're fucking injured. Well, when a bloke's fucking injured, what
Yeah,
light duties
or
does he have
you're
now?
too
Because
old.
she can't jump on the fucking jackhammer.
Yeah, well, that's like actually one of the things that the CFMEU would do. Like I said before, they would very often just control the labour hire themselves. And the guy with a bad back, who's like over 60 or something, they'd put him on the gate doing traffic control. But now you've got like fucking 25-year-old girls in pink high vis doing it instead.
Oh, they're so clean. Their helmets haven't got a smudge of crumb on them. They're looking great.
Smudge of
Yeah,
what?
no,
Smudge of crumb, no fucking dirt. Hasn't been, it hasn't been sitting in the dirt half the day, and then when you need to walk away from the job, you put it back on. Haven't skated it across the ground to the other side of the workhouse. The fucking pristine helmet that hasn't seen a day working.
I understand.
But it's just worn it for months.
The way you fucking said that word made me laugh.
Oh, don't
yeah,
look
you're
too
right.
far.
And there's never any stickers on it either. There's no like union if provoked we will strike stickers or anything of the kind.
Weird.
There is
I
an
know they've got those
gigantic
special
black
stickers.
paint pen, blast shitter, toilet splitter written down the sides of it in the case of my one.
Okay, well, are you guys ready for some serious confirmation bias on our next
Oh, give me
story?
that dopamine hit.
So we're moving on to the topic of anti-Semitism now. And just as we were preparing for today's show, I noticed a very interesting story on the Noticer, noticer.news. If you care to please check out their site if you haven't yet. It's really good. But anyway, we all remember the caravan plot. This is where a caravan full of explosives was found unattended over the side of a road with the addresses of a synagogue or multiple synagogues in a handwritten note found inside.
Now,
Now,
they didn't pull up their phone. They
there
didn't have a
were,
fucking
there
phone
were a
there
number.
on the GPS. The coordinates set in.
Yes, right.
A big old
Now, there
street
were,
directory with sticky notes on it.
there have, of course, been a number of anti-Semitic incidents or acts of vandalism, whatever. But this was the main one. This was like the catalyst for bringing in the federal hate speech laws that has ushered Australia well and truly into the age of a police state. And at the time, even though you had someone like Andrew Bolt who said that it looked suspicious, you also had people like Chris Kenny saying that the Prime Minister simply was not doing enough about it, and so were the opposition. And so this was the main event everyone was looking to, saying, look, they plan to blow up a whole bunch of Jews in a synagogue. So, this is what we need to happen. We need these hate speech laws to combat this. Well, at the time, we said this was fake. I mean, not that you needed to be Nostradamus for that. Even bloody Andrew Bolt saw it coming.
But did he say
it? I want to see what he said now about it. I'd love to see him, because he was probably told to shut up about it after he did that last bit of commentary. Actually, I'm just going to share the audio, because I just wanted to play the statement by New South Wales Police. Here it is.
Yes, please.
Also, almost immediately, experienced investigators within the Joint Counterterrorism Team believed that the caravan was part of a fabricated terrorist plot, essentially a criminal con job. This was because of the information they already had, how easily the caravan was found, and how visible the explosives were in the caravan. Also, there was no detonator. Today, I can reveal that the caravan was never going to cause a mass casualty event, but instead was concocted by criminals who wanted to cause fear for personal benefit. What organised crime has the Jewish...
Fear for personal benefit. Okay, so Make fake terrorism attack. Question mark, question mark, question mark, profit? Or was there a
yes.
third party
No, hold on.
paying for this?
This is the thing. Now, like Blair and Tom keep pointing out that when you are asked the question, like, was this fake or not, you always have to ask, well, who had something to benefit from it? Now, as I said, this was the catalyst for the current hate speech laws and for the laws that will no doubt pass in New South Wales and Victoria as well. Now, obviously, you would think that, yes, it would have to be Australian jury that would have something to benefit here. Therefore, they would likely be the ones who at least paid criminals to concoct the story. But just listen to I'm just going to play another part of that statement and have a listen to what I think this is the police commissioner says, Deputy Police Commissioner.
To cause fear for personal benefit. What organised crime has done to the Jewish community is reprehensible and it won't go without consequences. There was also unwarranted suspicion directed at other communities, and that is also reprehensible.
You hear that? So she was saying that there is suspicion against Australian Jews and against other ethnicities in Australia. So in other words, she's suggesting that the mere concoction of the event was actually meant to make people think that Jews had concocted it. That's actually the angle that she's taking here.
Not
Can you believe
that
that?
it was.
I don't think people would even take that deep of an analysis of it, to be honest.
But that's what she's
Yeah.
done. That's what she said.
Yeah.
I think
That's
she
fucking
might be
horrific.
referring to kind of the Muslim community. Basically, explosives must be the Muslims. She might be referring to it as that.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not being entirely clear about it. If you said, all right, fucking, what I think is the Muslim community are taking the brunt of blame for this. She didn't say that. She just fucking very, very mealy-mouthed.
Yeah.
She put that down.
But she also said that still, like, that this is actually like harm directed towards the Jewish community, even though it is just patently obvious that it was the Jewish community who did this or who paid for it and organized it. So even when they're caught doing blatant what you do in rabbis, they still are getting lip service as a victimized, marginalized group, and the police are promising to punish whoever it was that did this to them.
Yeah, I think they're going to punish the patsies, not the perpetrators.
Man, I think we're having a fun time now, aren't we?
All right. So just got one other story on anti-Semitism. So this is to do with a regional council that had an environmental grant of $285,000 that was made to them for the Ballarat Renewable Energy and Zero Emissions Program. So, your usual kind of green energy bollocks. Anyway, there is a councillor that sits in this council called Ted Lapkin. He is a former Israeli Defense Force soldier. Now, he actually lobbied. Yeah. The thing is, though, whenever they point that out, remember IDF service is compulsory in Israel, except if you have an exemption. So that doesn't necessarily mean he's some hotshot soldier. But anyway, he issued an ultimatum to this is Ballarat Council. So he said that they either axe the board member Mary DeBrett, or they lose the $285,000 environmental grant. Well, lucky him, 1 week after he made that ultimatum, they sacked that board member and the grant was revoked. He was actually just saying either or, but then both of them were actually executed. Now, why was this? So this board member, Mary DeBrett, had made comments critical of Israel on Twitter. So it was pointed out that there were a series of retweets and thread comments made on Twitter by Miss DeBrett. And it said, for example, that Israel is a stain on the planet, and that the IDF continued to dehumanize and torment people of Gaza in similar style to way Nazis dehumanized Jews during the Holocaust.
Oh, great.
Oh, disagreed.
The thing is, though, this councillor, Ted Lapkin, said that the comments were grossly anti-Semitic. Well, I just read out like the worst of them. There's nothing there. I mean, yeah, it's obviously criticism of Israel and the IDF. But there's no racial slurs or anything. There's no even direct language about Jews.
Just the state.
Yes. So, well, I mean, in fact, actually, it mentions the Jews and the Holocaust. So, if anything, it's like actually like praising
Semitic.
Jews, condemning Jewish punishment and suffering. So, no, you can't kind of construe this as she was some rabid anti-Semite. Nonetheless, she's been kicked off the council, and the council has lost its environmental grant as well.
Get the
Now,
fuck.
maybe not such a bad thing, because this, like I said, it's green energy shit that they got this grant for. But still, it's like,
Are they going to rehire her?
I don't know. I mean, look, I think in the article where I read this, I'm pretty sure she said she was considering legal action, like, which she probably have a good case to make, I'd say. But you know, we make the point often that the coalition only really has a tough stance on immigration when Jews want them to. You know, specifically about limiting Muslim immigration to Australia or cancelling citizenship. It seems to me that this rule now applies to climate change and green energy policies.
Just
The one
another method
time-
of blackmail.
Yes. The one time you can actually threaten green energy funding is when Jews want it.
It's almost like there's an underlying authority here that's staring right at us in the face. But it would be quite literally illegal for me to point it out.
There's some replacement morals being applied. The green
There's some
future,
kind of-
the save the planet thing is a moral nowadays.
There's a superseding supreme outside of these gay faggoty gods.
Okay. So on to immigration. Only one story today. So basically who is like second in command at the immigration sector of the Department of Home Affairs. Her name is Emmy Kassar. She has resigned all of a sudden. And this is for such a senior public servant to resign only weeks out from a federal election is pretty rare, pretty strange. But it needs to also be pointed out that this comes right after Tony Burke's citizenship ceremony blitz, where they were pushing through granting citizenship to almost 13,000 people and running over 25 ceremonies around the country. Not just in Tony Burke's electorate, but actually around the country, even WA. And Roger Cook said that he had no idea about these ceremonies being planned. Now, the Australian also makes the point, well, this also comes after the three immigrants who are going to be resettled in Nauru. They've also mounted high court challenges against the government resettling them there. So it could have a lot to do with that. Now, unfortunately, this is not something that the public cares about too much. You know, when a high level bureaucrat resigns, most people just say who, and that's it. But I think it definitely does show that there is some tension within Home Affairs, to say the least, over how they're handling all of this. And I can't believe that Tony Burke won't admit that this isn't something extraordinary to push through 13,000 citizenship claims in just a few weeks right before an election, and to be personally presiding over those ceremonies. She may well have just quit in disgust over that, but we'll probably never know.
Yeah, maybe I should write a book.
A book that no one would read. It's like, remember that guy from the racial discrimination commissioner used to be that guy called Tim. We would always call him Tim Soup Possum because he had some impronounceable surname.
I'm the commissioner of racial discrimination.
Yeah, but when he left, yeah, isn't it amazing that we actually have a commissioner with that title?
Oh, God.
That by the way is on about $250,000 a year.
Hey, keep
anyway,
the department. Just flip it over. Do it.
Yeah, no, the department. I want to be the commissioner for racial discrimination. I'm really fucking creative with that shit. I just coined the term Dravidianids about 15 minutes ago.
Dravidinoids.
Lost my train of thought there.
We're talking about the
thought-terminating
Tim, the racial discrimination commissioner. When he left, he wrote a book called On Hate, and it went straight to the bargain bin in the ABC shops. Like, no one bought it. I mean, and who the fuck would want to read that?
Oh, put it on your coffee table.
Me for research purposes.
Probably not the best title. But
how do I take my stuff from amateur to professional?
On Hate. He'll give you the best examples.
All right, let's move on to climate and energy. Now, we're going to talk about WA's state-owned electricity provider, which is called Synergy. That's a little misleading. They are partly privatized as well. But anyway, the state energy minister, Reese Whitby, is seeking almost $1 billion in additional funding to continue to subsidize Synergy. Now, why is this happening?
Why the fuck do we need to subsidize it?
Well, the thing is, there's a cap on how much Synergy is allowed to charge its customers. This is imposed by the WA government, and this is what you could basically call a cost of living relief measure. You actually implement price controls. Now, what that has meant for Synergy, though, is that very often they're not able to turn a profit because they're not allowed to charge the amount of money that would render a profit. So this has been very financially damaging to them. And the government is, it says believed to have knocked back the request and instead instructed Synergy to borrow more than $500 million for it to stay viable.
So basically go into debt.
Yes. Now, they've also said that obviously because this is not a sustainable model, you can't have Synergy just continuously losing money bill after bill. Eventually, those caps are going to be removed, and that means that you are going to see prices rise even higher. So, yeah. What a surprise that is happening. And I'm sure it's very similar in other states too. The fact that, they're just finding it so hard to actually make a profit. without charging people an excessive amount.
The real amount.
Yeah.
Now that all of our coals are shutting down, and we got fucking windmills.
Well, just remember, it's not just the generation of the kilowatt that costs money. It's also its instantaneous locomotion for your use, both commercial, residential, industrial. With grid instability and grid shutdowns and brownouts becoming more and more frequent, as we've seen, that's becoming more expensive too.
Everything is.
Yeah. Terribly
Okay, now,
so. I'm waiting for my next bill to bankrupt me, by the way.
At the same time, we've got another report that the ABC has commented on, saying that Australia's largest coal-fired station is unreliable and driving up electricity prices. So this is a new report that argues against the viability of keeping coal plants open beyond their schedule dates.
Fuck off.
So, in New South Wales, they made a deal with Origin Energy to keep what is this? Sorry, I don't know the name of it, but it's a 43-year-old coal plant, and they've extended it to August 2027. I think it was already due to have closed down by now. And so these ones that are left, they're commenting on the fact that they're expensive to run. But the thing is, though, like, if you shut down like all the other competing coal fire stations and you're the only one left, I mean, wouldn't it stand to reason that your prices would then go up? Because you're providing to a market that now has far fewer suppliers. And if there's a shortage, that means that you would be charging extra money. Isn't this just very basic economics 101 here?
On paper. You're not ready for the level of retard shit that's going on inside this industry, opinion.
Oh, yeah.
There's some real knuckle dragging going on along these copper wires.
And I mean, what do they think would actually happen if they close that down now? Do they honestly think that shutting down one of our few remaining coal-fired stations is actually going to put down prices?
No.
I mean, they could do some artificial bullshit with the prices. Like, in theory, and like maybe in the short term, like green energy is relatively cheaper. As long as it's available. But like, actually, like long term with increased volatility, no. Holy fucking shit, no. It just means it doesn't mean that the energy is going to be cheaper. It just means you're just not going to have it.
I think it's just a method of making sure that you cannot have alternatives. Literally impossible. Fucking nuke the site, make sure it's fucking salt the earth, and make sure nothing no coal ever burns there again. It's basically the goal. And
we're probably like, okay, so I'm not gonna like say doom and gloom, be totally accelerationist on this, or, say that the time scale on this is like really really short, because it isn't. In all honesty, it's not. But I think that if not within, but by the time that like we're kind of going out for retirement and etc., I think the concept of suburbs funding in like council rates for diesel generators for like your each individual like set of like for your like 500 600 houses, I think like a local diesel generator setup is probably going to be the case, because that's the case in both India and South Africa.
I hope the price of diesel drops.
No.
Squeeze some E10 into there.
So to talk about our Environment Minister, Tanya Plibersek, who has a very interesting husband, she has been taken to the federal court by the conservation group, the Wilderness Society. Now, what they are arguing is that she and her predecessors have not complied with a legal requirement to create recovery plans for 11 species. So that includes the Tasmanian wedge-tailed eagle, greater gilders, and lungfish that are all apparently threatened species. I've never heard of a lungfish.
Is it an
before.
axolotl?
They're like a fucking mud. They're like a mud skipper, but slightly bigger.
Oh, fucking mud skippers. Yeah. You can see them being threatened by changes to their environment.
Yeah,
very
they
easily.
I mean, like, okay, so imagine a long skipper, like a mud skipper, but like more like eel shaped, like longer. The little eel. I think they're literally related to eels. Actually, I'm gonna look this
Holy
up.
shit, they're big as well.
Yeah, yes, they migrate between ponds.
Oh,
They're massive.
those fucking eels that living in the there's a fucking eel that lives in here in Sydney in one of the parks in the ponds.
Eel.
Yeah, it swims out to sea, goes all the way up to Queensland, breeds or something, and then comes all the way and slips and slides back into the pond in the middle of Sydney. Fucking weird thing.
Yeah, I'm actually unironically because that last just going back to grid instability, that last fucking little stint, I'm unironically considering investing in a fucking LPG generator and just getting a gas plumber to hook it up.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm usually sympathetic to endangered species, I guess, but the Wilderness Society and all the lawfare that
Sympathetic
they
to
run.
endangered species, Finian. You are one.
Well, yes,
I should not laugh at that. That's horrific and true.
it is, unfortunately, and we are a minority that is getting smaller and smaller.
I still love those. I hate street interviews, but I like the ones where like they go and ask them, it's like, oh, what percentage of the world population do you think is white? And they do this all around the world, and they're saying like, oh, 20, 30, 40%, and they're like, less than 7. None of them can fucking believe that. And then some of them are like, bullshit. Like, it's like, well, white people dominate everything. There has to be way more of them. It's like,
Yes.
nope.
Everything but the population charts. I think we're up there. When Europe was ascendant and having some of those nastier wars. But yeah,
A little shy of 30 at peak from memory.
nice.
Okay, now look, Libivsec said that they have actually doubled funding for national parks, and they invested $1.2 billion to restore the Great Barrier Reef, for example. So, well, look, what the Wilderness Society are demanding is recovery plans. So this is for like a big list of animals. So it includes 598 different species, 1,437 plants, and 107 ecological communities. So yeah, the Wilderness Society has just drawn up a list of 11 that they say there is no recovery plan for. And yeah,
Well, some of those things would be near on impossible. I mean, it's illegal to touch the fucking wedge-tail eagle. Naturally, not even allowed to go near their nests. But some around and about the Hunter Valley.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
are they over there as well? I could be wrong on the species then, but eagles are around about.
Wedge-tailed eagles are very much over here, man.
But I don't think you can put them in a fucking battery farm and just pump out the bloody things and release them to the wild. Some things just won't take to being caged up.
mean, dude, we can do that to like a handful. Like we can do that to fowls because fowls are basically just birds that wander around some kind of forest, and their entire breeding cycle is dependent on how much food they get. you're not going to be able to do shit like that with a territorial bird of prey. Because for starters, like you got fucking females. The females will be trying to kill each other and destroy each other's nests. The males will be trying to kill each other a lot. They'll be trying to kill you, and they'll try to fucking have like probably a stress-related meltdown and like basically like heart attack induced death because you put them all way too close to each other.
Yeah, birds like attacking each other, don't they?
Yes.
We used to keep quails, and it
Oh,
was
yeah.
very hard to keep them alive because they were just constantly killing each other.
Some things need a form of entertainment. Quails are said to be the easiest to stick in a little thing, but you just got to get entertainment for those particular things. Yeah, they call it cannibalism when they're so bored they peck at each other's faces and then start eating each other.
Yeah, they were brutal, man. They were really bad. Okay. Yeah, so wind farms. Now, still talking about Tanya Plibersek. So she has given the green light to 3 New South Wales wind farms. And that includes one of the most controversial ones, which is south of Tamworth. So the 372 megawatt Hills of Gold wind farm. Oh, geez. So on the ridge line near the historic town of Nundle, in the New England region. And so, yeah, that's received environmental approval. Now, I don't know if that's the last of it, though. There may be court action taken here. Again, there is, you can do that. But, this isn't an environmental group that would take that to court because they're usually very much in favor of these type of wind farms. Even though they can be very dangerous, well, talking about birds again, they can kill a shitload of birds.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
Flocks are fucked when they get hit by those things. I guess the foxes will be eaten well, the ones that live under those wind farms.
Yeah. And so this one in particular, this is a 62 turbine project. Pretty big.
Ooh. How long until that's all up and ready and pumping out a bit of energy?
Long time. Well,
So many fucking years and about 10 years of use and then getting torn down again.
Yeah, and then in the end, it may not even generate enough wind power, so they just close it.
I remember those. I think I may have even brought this up on the show. There's this one show with called Landman, and guy talks to some green activist about it's like our entire world runs on petrochemicals and we pump them from here. And he's looking at a wind farm. He's like, how many liters of petrochemical went into making that construction, pouring the concrete, transporting out here, transporting and smelting all the materials and metals needed for it, transporting that electricity generated from that thing to your house, and eventually, in approximately 10 to 15 years, deconstructing that thing, breaking it down, recycling what can be recycled, and installing a replacement. It's like, you would have a much better time just generating that electricity with the petrochemicals used in that entire process than that entire process itself.
Fuck.
And it's right. And literally, there was a left-wing commentator that brought that up and was just doing the actually, and then he basically removes the cradle, removes grave, and then basically removes service life, and then compares it to a generator that's 10 times the power. It includes the cradle to grave on the generator, by the way.
The first one of those things, they collapse, however way, maybe they just get it to implode upon itself, or is it the whole thing thick concrete? Basically, if they get it to collapse like a tree, that thing's going to go viral. Be big news headlines as everybody watches the fucking thing get collapsed for, because it's out of commission routine.
Yeah, I mean, they've already done that. They basically just they build them and they take them down, like they build and they take apart, cranes. They're normally like big steel sections that are just bolted together.
Yep.
Normally, there's a handful of different constructions of them. There's this one Norwegian or Dutch, I can't remember. They're the ones who paint the base of it green because they use concrete for way further up the tower than most other companies use. And because concrete can grow moss, they preemptively paint it green.
Nice. Very aesthetic.
I heard one of the ways you can fight climate change is just paint everything white. Have you heard that one before?
Probably.
Sounds pretty racist to me.
Basically, no, I actually understand it. It's probably a specialized coating, but basically, like, climate change is infrared energy getting, like caught up and etc. But it's because, visible and UV radiation comes down to Earth and, gets degraded down into infrared radiation, which reflects back and then can't leave the greenhouse layer. So if you're sending back visible and UV rays instead of degraded infrared rays, then probably. But the place would be a whole lot colder.
Is it basically a similar phenomenon as to, like if you wear black, you attract more heat, but if you wear white, you attract less heat?
Yeah.
It's like that.
White stuff is just a more efficient radio reflector.
All right.
Or like visible EMT, EMR reflector, or like electromagnetic radiation reflector.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
which is why it's white.
That's why I got a white car. And like white is probably the most common car color in Australia.
White is right when it comes to car coatings.
Thing is,
you don't want to be in a black car boiling to death. You want that reflective ass white paint.
Well, that's why I didn't buy a black car, like for that reason. Otherwise, I would have.
Oh, but is your dash white as well?
Yeah. you and your gun middle colored imp.
All right. So let's move on to crime. So a report was put out by the Australian Law Reform Commission recommending sweeping changes to the way sexual offences are handled. Now, this found that 9 in 10 women who experience sexual violence do not report it. And in some states and territories, up to 85% of police reports do not see charges laid. So in other words, what they're saying is that too many sexual offenders are getting away with their crimes. But the problem is if you go through the list of changes that they want it to be like making it easier when it comes to the victim giving evidence. So if you think back to the Brittany Higgins trial, and I mean, look, I do acknowledge that, like, under cross-examination, that's a difficult thing, obviously, if you've been the victim of a sexual crime. But I mean, how else are you supposed to tease out the evidence, though? Like, how else are you supposed to have a fair trial if, like, concessions are made in terms of how the victim's evidence is accepted by the court? For example, I've heard the suggestion that there be no cross-examination and that the victim simply makes a video recording of themselves giving their testimony, and then that is played to the court. And that's it. There's no actual questions made of the victim. I mean, I understand that you don't want to re-traumatize them or anything like that, but that is just not how evidence works in a court setting.
No.
So, yeah.
Look, I mean, it's substantially what you're replacing. Like what we currently run on with, like, witness statements and etc. You're replacing that with a pre-packaged propaganda video. You're replacing that with a very stationary, very stagnant piece of media, which it's harder to actually, like, realistically question. That's why people have debates, and that's why you get high fidelity in debates about anything really than you get in fucking video sniping videos of YouTube fucking PNG tubers debating atheism. There needs to be cross-examination because I don't think that you can actually earnestly extract truth from human beings, especially if someone is purposely lying. You're making it way too easy for, especially a very manipulative person or someone who actually kind of has an idea about how video media is presented and consumed by a jury or a judge or etc.
Well, yeah. How many takes do you get? How many times can you stuff up and say, "Oh, let's redo that one," and in order to be convincing, do you get yourself somebody who can help you with convincing everybody that this happened? Don't think the person in the defense gets any of that, and they're actually sitting there trying to convince the people that they didn't.
I think this conjecture just might be arse covering for the absolute shit show that was, something that we did cover quite a bit, the Brittany Higgins case. And I think we've, now we're looking at these other like high profile divorce, high profile sexual abuse cases, especially coming out of America right now. I think we are seeing a climate of lies, blatant lies being brought into the court that, if they had the ability to, I don't know, like Hollywood it up, would actually fly. When actually brought to light, when the fucking truth is brought in front of everyone, don't.
Yeah. Well, remember in the HCT, they actually did like rush through these laws through their parliament. You know, basically making it easier to secure a guilty verdict in a sexual assault trial. That was in direct reaction to what happened there, because the mistrial was called, and then Brittany Higgins said she was too mentally unwell to give further evidence. So they do kind of have this stuff. I'm pretty sure that thing about the video recording, I'm pretty sure that is on the books now in the ACT. Like that's the way the victim can present their evidence is via video recording.
So you don't even have to show up.
Actually, that reminds me of this one case back in the day. I believe it was in Texas, and it was a relatively high-profile divorce case between like a doctor and a stay-at-home mom from like a very, very ritzy family, but obviously gold digging because I think the doctor was still earned more than her family, her parents combined, or some shit. And it was the children were given video interviews where they're like, "Oh, daddy hit me." The daughter was like, "Oh, daddy would, look at my dress and touch me inappropriately, blah blah blah," and it was only for maybe.
No, I'm joking.
Oh no, I can't remember the name of it. So I was listening. You said that very confidently. Adds to my point. No, no, but it was only for the fact that one of the lawyers caught when obviously we was looking through all this video testament to kind of pick holes in it, make reasonable doubt. That he heard one of the boys say, "Did I hit my marks?" And it was only for the fact that this kid accidentally slipped up, and it was whoever was editing these videos together included it, because marks is an actor's line. It's acting terminology for did I hit my story points? Did I hit my lines? Did I hit my the emotional bend that you wanted me to go through? And then lo and behold, further subpoenaing along. The kids were given acting classes to act.
Well, that helped.
Yeah. So the video testimony is fucking horrifically dangerous and horrifically wrought as a form of testimony.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I was thinking about the lawyers then would always put their client through a form of coaching. I mean, they already do that. Like they already practice lines that are going to be used on the witness stand during cross-examination. That's a very common thing to rehearse before a court procession. So, yeah, there's no reason why they wouldn't implement tactics like that in video evidence as well. All right. So let's go to the Northern Territory. And the police commissioner, or I think by now he's actually the former police commissioner, Michael Murphy, he's found himself in more than a bit of trouble. So it was revealed by Northern Territory's corruption watchdog, which they also call ICAC, there was an unnamed senior executive had in early 2024 helped a good friend to get a high-placed job in the public service and then sat on the panel that hired him. Well, former police commissioner Michael Murphy has actually revealed himself to be that person. So that was the finding of ICAC, that he essentially did a nepotism for his friend, got him a very good job. And this is the same guy who had a vote of no confidence by the prison officers union. So they were very upset that they were hiring prison officers and even private security from around Australia to staff Northern Territory prisons, because ever since the election of the CLP, the prison population has grown significantly because they are actually taking a tough on crime approach, which is good. But it had been growing before that as well. And that is, to do with these hotspot areas like Alice Springs, just going off.
Population growth.
Yeah, well, also just like the soft touch approach that they had under Territory Labor. I mean, do you remember when Albanese had to make an emergency flight out to Alice Springs?
I was just talking to Fluoride about this before the show. It's like the horrific bullshit that was like that small little period of time where we're like, yes, Aboriginals can decide if they want alcohol or not.
Can they? Can they really? Because I think the choice is already made.
But you see, that was like smack bang in the middle of campaigning for the Indigenous voice to Parliament. And so Albo's like, shit, we've got Aborigines running absolutely wild in the Northern Territory. It's not a good look when you're trying to sell that. So, but anyway, the Chief Minister, that's what you call him in the territories, Leah Finocchiaro has said that, she said this on Saturday, that the commissioner's position was untenable. And last I read on this, she said that steps were being undertaken to terminate his position as Northern Territory Police Commissioner.
Well, they're getting their revenge.
Now, what's funny, though, is that it doesn't quite end there. So the guy who has replaced him is, simply the deputy police commissioner. But apparently, this is one of the guys they reckon was given a favour by Michael Murphy. He's a mate of his. I'm not sure if he's actually the senior executive who they're talking about, who was elevated to the top
I'm standing
job.
down. Oi, mate. You're taking up my position now. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So yeah, they were mates anyway. We know that, and so now they're saying, okay, right, it's good that this guy's gone, but the guy who's replaced him is just as bad. He's a mate of his. What's going on?
Did he make any unlawful things? You're gonna have to find that out. They're gonna have to squeeze in and try and get rid of his job. This fucking line of revenge against these poor fuckers.
Yeah. So this guy's name is Peter Cannon, and yeah. So it says, well, the ICAC found Commissioner Murphy engaged in improper and unsatisfactory conduct by mishandling a conflict of interest, where he chaired a panel that appointed his close friend. Oh no, it is him. His close friend Peter Cannon to assistant commissioner last year. Yeah, so he's the one who is next in line for the job.
Small world.
Jeez. My God. Well, I guess, I don't know, maybe they just don't have that much of a talent pool to draw from in the Northern Territory, because there's just not many people there.
Do you think I could go there and be king of the Northern Territory?
Everybody's got dirty underwear that I can flaunt if you want to. As I say, just getting revenge on them.
Everyone in the Northern Territory must have some serious swamp ass. Now I think about it.
Only during the rainy season.
God doesn't even remember slavery, only on Tuesdays.
Okay. The Law Enforcement Conduct Commission has recommended that New South Wales police activate their body-worn cameras whenever they are likely to activate their powers. Okay, that means like, when you go in for an arrest or whatever. And, particularly for cases where like you draw up your gun and things like that. So they said that they are currently instructed that they should activate their cameras in those instances.
Well, that sounds legally binding.
It's not, yeah, that's the thing. So the commission has recommended that it be compulsory. And look, I agree with that. But one of the main reasons I agree with that is because, well, it leads to footage that was, for example, caught on Zachary Rolfe's body cam, which clearly showed that he was doing his job.
If he didn't have that, you would have. They could have made up anything.
That's right, yeah. And this reminds me of a story I saw years ago in America. Just when the Black Lives Matter stuff was popping off with, like, what's his name? Michael Brown and all of that, and they were doing the hands up, don't shoot stuff.
The Snickers guy.
All of these, like civil rights leaders, like Al Sharpton, were going on about how they need to put their body cameras on so that we could see that the white police officers were just gunning down blacks in cold blood.
Yeah, just beating them to death on the pavement, right? Just these white people just hurting people.
Then what happened was, about a year later, the same leaders came out and said the exact opposite. They said, no,
we need to turn these fucking cameras are awful for the.
So they said, yeah, now we've got to turn them off.
Why? Did anybody buy that? Did anybody fucking buy that? Did anybody fucking buy that you need to turn off your evidence cameras and all? Fucking put all that money in, etc., in order to get them on your bodies. You get them,
but I mean that's what they were saying. And I mean the body cam footage is how we can be absolutely sure that Zachary Rolfe did his job properly. The footage captures him getting stabbed with a pair of scissors and his partner getting stabbed with a pair of scissors. It also captures them performing CPR on Kumanjai Walker as they waited for an ambulance. So, obviously that footage completely exonerated him in that trial.
Did it capture the lady who, the best qualified to do CPR, refusing to do the CPR? Just leaving the fucking
I remember that. Yeah, that was I don't know about that, but yes, I do remember that now.
Yeah, I remember that case, and I remember her trying to, pretty much successfully throwing him under the fucking bus.
Maybe it was because she just didn't know how to do it. She's like...
she had the qualifications, if I remember correctly. She was the most qualified there to do the CPR, and she refused to, so he started doing it himself. Probably better for his case that he did it himself. He's probably fucked the guy who's fucking laying on the floor.
They still sacked him in the end.
Yes.
In the end, they're
still there is literally, you could eject your angel wings, grow a halo, and be like the arbiter of all truth and justice and righteousness after the fact, and you're still fucked.
Yeah, if you're found guilty of a black man dying near you, always lucky to not be in jail.
There was a text message that they finally found he sent where he referred to Aborigines as COONs. I was just surprised there wasn't more.
They took away my cheese.
Very nice brand of cheese.
They took away my cheese, and all they left me with was cheese.
Get fucked.
Okay. Oh god. So in Victoria, Jacinta Allen has backed a trial that would give first-time teenage and young offenders cautions and diversions instead of punitive criminal charges. Like,
oh, sweet! We get a one-off.
But they already have that. That applies across the whole country. Like, unless they do something really serious, like murder someone or armed robbery or something,
So it has to get
Like,
serious before they'll actually arrest the
you're
fuckers.
basically guaranteed that you will not go to detention. You'll just get like a caution or something. Like, for example, if you steal a car, or even if you steal about 5 cars on 5 separate occasions, you probably still won't go to detention. So, like, this is nothing new. All they're doing, I guess, is just making it even worse, meaning that they'd be handing out even more cautions and diversions.
The kids are going to get
And
feral fast.
what I found quite amusing about this is when I read the next story about it, that recommendation was given by the Victorian Police Review. However, concerns were raised by frontline police officers about the program. So, in other words, the senior detectives and high bureaucrats within Victoria Police say, no, we need to take a softer approach when it comes to youth crime. But the cops who are actually out there dealing with it, making the arrests, they're saying, no, you need to just lock them up. That's the only way.
Yep. Give them a taste of prison. Hopefully they don't like the taste.
I like it. There's always that disconnect, between the people who actually go out there, do the job.
The political officers and the people at the coalface, yeah.
Yeah, and the people who just sit behind a desk.
With their ankles behind their head. You can't tell me I'm wrong there. I'm sorry.
All right, and just final story on crime. There's apparently been 3 serious assaults in South Australia's prisons. And the public service union that represents the prison officers, they say that those incidents are the direct result of staffing changes and cost-cutting measures. Okay, I'm pretty sure that just means less staff. And so, yeah, that's what happens. When you have less staff, you have more lockdowns, you have prisoners spending more time in their cells, simply because there aren't enough officers to supervise them. And the longer they stay in their cells, the more tension builds and the more they get into fights. And that also increases the risk of assaults on staff as well. So, yeah, not good. Don't think I've read a story like that coming out of South Australia before. So I think that shows it's just like, it's spreading from the Northern Territory and WA. It's going to be around the whole country.
Yeah, I don't think we'll find out, exactly what's the case here. But we do know why it tends to be between us and the Northern Territory. I don't think I'm allowed to elaborate on that one actually anymore.
No, as long as you don't use slurs, you can say that. We might as well not exist as a show.
Disproportionately Indigenous.
Yes, you can say that. There's no point in listening to our show, unless we can have the balls to say that kind of stuff.
Yeah, pocket. It's balls time.
So I'm not attacking you. I'm just saying, I'm just thinking of these hate speech laws at the back of my head, thinking, don't let them restrict basic expression like that. Pointing out the blatantly obvious that more Aborigines means more crime. Which is why these problems are disproportionately bigger in WA and the Northern Territory. There's no doubt about that. Okay, now on the topic of drugs, or sort of on drugs, talking about illegal versus legal tobacco. I'm sure most people would be aware that the excise tax, which is on tobacco and cigarettes, generates billions of dollars for the federal government each year. And the excise tax, along with everything else, is way higher than is most of the price that you pay for a pack of smokes. The actual price would be about 60% cheaper if it didn't attract those excise taxes and whatnot. So there are concerns now, though, that because cigarettes are just so bloody expensive. Now, I saw someone let me just bring this up. Some guy I used to be mate with, yeah, he's a smoker. So he said that he recently saw that there was a 40-pack of Winfield for $102. So wow, I'm not a smoker, but that does seem incredibly expensive.
That's horrific. It used to be like 60, 70 bucks.
Yeah. So the Australian Association of Convenience Stores, they say that if we keep kind of going in this direction, illegal tobacco sales are actually going to outmaneuver legal tobacco sales.
Going
And,
to. It looks like they already fucking have, especially with kids nowadays.
Yeah.
Basically, not being hooked on the old stuff. Just go to Chop Chop, save a fortune, and lose your lungs that way.
Yeah. Now, you see, this is concerning for the government, not really because of the black market trade, but because of the fact that really threatens their excise tax revenue. So it's actually backfiring on them. You know, the extra taxes to raise extra money are actually pushing people into the black market where they obviously don't pay any tax on the smokes that they buy through that market. So
Yeah,
Saves a fortune.
and look, it's obviously lucrative. The black market's obviously picked up because there's been fire bombings over this. There was a small firebombing over here and a ram raid over here. And there's been fucking dude, the entirety of Sydney. Imagine Flora can attest to this. There's been how many fucking tobacconists have had their shit rocked from the middle of last year to the now.
So it's
my
like
count of about
wars.
6.
The turf wars are like competing for the illegal tobacco trade.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. To an extent, vapes as well, because vapes are so
Serial
unregulated.
vapists. Well, there's fun ways you get them off the Alibaba and all that, and find out which works. I'm not a smoker myself, but it's just instantly replaced the smoking. Hardly ever see smoking. Usually, just smell the fucking vape. Fucking someone blows a cloud of cherries at you.
Nowadays I definitely smell vape a hell of a lot more than I smell a smoke.
Mm.
Not sure if it's any less horrible for you.
I probably prefer the
probably
smell of a cigarette. I'm not a smoker either, and I remember when I did try smoking when I was 17 or something. I felt like I wanted to throw up, so I never took it up. But I don't mind the light smell of it, around. I can at least tolerate that, but I don't like the smell of vapes at all. Just no.
Chemical shit.
Yeah.
I think the last time I smoked anything was in Japan.
Well, yeah, and I don't like that shisha stuff either.
Oh fuck no! I don't know why that's trendy with oven middle class teal voter demographic. Is it because your fucking Muslim friend fucking Muhammad's decided to invite you down to the shisha shop? Because literally, I was invited to a shisha place. And I was like, why the fuck are you inviting me to a shisha place? It's trendy now, apparently.
Bloody hooker den.
Yep.
But the Arabs love it. They absolutely love it. Okay. Let's go to, we've only got one story on state politics today, and that is in South Australia. Oh, I have incorrectly written that in as South Australian ALP. That should be the South Australian Libs. Do we remember the former leader of the South Australian Liberal Party, David Spears? Not to be confused with Insider's host. He is confirmed to have a hearing at the Adelaide Magistrates Court over drug charges. So in August last year, a photo started circulating of him apparently chopping up a line of cocaine, on his kitchen counter or something like that. There were a lot of rumors at the beginning, people said it was AI or photoshopped or whatever. It seems like that is not the case because police ended up laying charges against him. And yeah, that will be going to court very soon. And if you look at this guy, I didn't realize he was this young. He's only 40 years old. But if you look at him, he looks like way older than 50. Like,
So he's drug fucked?
Well, yeah, and that made me think, like, would that have anything to do with drugs? Like, So, yeah, I don't know. That's obviously just blatant speculation there. But, I'm not saying one way or another. But I think the photograph is stronger evidence. And it would be interesting to find out, like, who leaked that photo as well, or why he was dumb enough to let the photo be taken.
Well, he was in the sanctity of his own home.
That's true. Do you think the Greens would defend him on that basis? Probably not.
I think they got their relativity hat on.
All right. Let's talk a bit about the federal election. So we've got some news poll data to go through. If we look at the primary vote, the coalition sits on 39%, Labor on 32%. Then you have the Greens on 12%, One Nation on 7%, and Other on 10%. But looking at the two-party preferred vote, Labor's on 49% and the coalition on 51%. Preferred Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese is on 47%, Peter Dutton is on 38%, with 15% uncommitted. So according to analysts looking at this data, this still indicates a hung parliament. So neither party actually gaining a majority, and then you would obviously have to sit down in negotiation with the crossbenchers to see who's going to form government.
Fucking Greens with the Nationals, and the odd bobs.
The Greens actually have 3 lower house seats now. It wasn't all that long ago that they had none. That started with Adam Bant, basically turning Melbourne into a safe Greens seat. But yeah, now you've got other electorates going that direction as well. And then, you've got the Teals. And while I do think that the Teals might lose a lot of the seats that they previously won, like Warringah, for example, I think is definitely vulnerable. They're running more and more candidates now in other seats that are not just threatening Liberal MPs, but also Labor MPs. We had a good example in the WA election with Kate Hewlett, who nudged out a Labor minister in the seat of Fremantle. So what I'm saying is, yeah, we could be looking at a pretty big crossbench after May. And then, this will be the first time since Julia Gillard had to form that little alliance with the Greens and those independent candidates. And, wow, it'll be interesting. Especially if we've got a couple of Muslim vote independents. We probably won't, but that would definitely make it more interesting. Okay, we talked about that. Talking about the CFMEU again. So they've launched a bunch of ads on Facebook and Instagram. They reckon this has been seen up to 400,000 times by users. And these are various ads attacking Labor candidates.
Facebook and Instagram, what do they want? Fucking thoughts and grandmas?
I don't know. Is that the average? Well, definitely Instagram I know is full of thoughts, but I don't know.
Who the fuck uses Facebook anymore?
Yeah, people just use it for like Marketplace and Messenger, and actually not even really Messenger anymore because people are migrated to WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Kind of family groups, etc. Close in things. Not something you would advertise into.
Yeah, that's because grandma's on it.
Yep, and she knows how to use it. And can't kind of ask her to change her
Use-
ability to use these
Grandma
things.
uses Facebook to like AI videos of African children making statues out of chicken wings.
These ads that the CFMEU have been posting, they do it on the same. Remember those C-bus ads where they go compare the pair, and it was like they compare their superannuation plans. They've been doing that, and what they do is they pick out like a Labor MP and compare them to Peter Dutton. So they're actually telling people these Labor candidates, they implemented same kind of anti-union policies that the coalition would. So the ads are basically saying, don't vote Liberal, but don't vote Labor either. However, this might have the effect of being advantageous to the Libs, depending on where preferences.
If it draws votes away from Labor, they're fucked.
That's part of the goal here, obviously, because these they're actually said to be set up by former CFMEU officials who were dumped once the government took administration of the CFMEU.
Getting their revenge.
They are, absolutely. Yeah.
And they're doing it by informing people. So can't be against that tactic, I guess.
Yeah, albeit on Facebook and Instagram, but that is what they're doing. All right. Okay. So going to New South Wales in the federal context, they're saying that things are getting quite nasty. So, for example, in the Calais electorate, where you've got MP Andrew G, who is from the National Party, it looks like people have been stealing his corflutes and vandalizing posters and stuff. We did mention in the WA election that there was an unusual uptick in vandalism. It didn't look like it was politically motivated, though, because people were just like drawing dicks on people's heads and that kind of thing. So it was
Classic.
likely just bored teenagers,
I've seen a few of those near bus stops, etc. The trick they usually use is putting them in the very middle divider of the road, kind of fence thing, so you can't really go up to it without being hit by traffic, or putting it against the post really, really fucking high up so you can't get up there without standing on your buddy's shoulders or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I mean, when it's an election campaign, people just put those corflutes and stuff just outside their house or something where it's easy to access. So, yeah, I certainly did see a few of them. So I don't know. The way the ABC are spinning this story in Andrew G's seat is that it is politically motivated, though. They've got like some people on camera stealing campaign material. Yeah, I guess it could be.
Hoodlums,
I'm not sure.
hooligans, political agitators.
No bad tactics. Just fucking petty targets.
All right. Well, look. Let's talk about the Muslim vote. Actually, just one story. This is the Muslim vote has actually just the advocacy group. They've now got a formal advocacy group, and they're called Muslim Votes Matter. So, in the seat of what is this? Of Wills, which is in Victoria, they're actually backing the Greens candidate, Samantha Ratnam. Now, she used to be the leader of the Greens in Victoria, the state level. She was one of the very early supporters of declaring the NSN and the EAM terrorist organizations, and therefore effectively outlawing membership in them. She was the OG in terms of that stuff. She since left and now is contesting federally. And yeah, even though a hell of a lot of things that she supports would be completely anathema to the average Muslim voter, uh, the Muslim vote is still endorsing her. Now, of course, this isn't entirely unheard of. I mean, all you need to do is just look at Marie Faruqi within the Greens. Muslims running within the Greens and endorsing Greens candidates, voting for Greens candidates is definitely not an uncommon thing. But the reason why they're doing it is almost exclusively to do with Palestine. They feel like the Greens are like basically the only party that makes a loud enough noise in support of Palestine. But the other thing, though, that I think this tells us is that they're still not ready to field many Muslim candidates. So when we first started talking about the whole phenomenon of the Muslim vote and, running against like Labour ministers in Western Sydney, it was often referred to as like a teal style campaign because it was running independents who, had like a common ideology. But the major
they're an
difference,
internal demographic of the major party.
yes. But the major difference, though, between them as a movement and the Teals as a movement is, well, very simply, the Teals have money. The Muslim vote don't. The Teals are funded by Climate 200 and billionaires. The Muslim vote is funded by a guy who owns a burger joint that goes up in flames and definitely was not politically motivated. Right now, they've got two candidates in Western Sydney, one going up against Tony Burke, the other going up against Jason Clare. But in Victoria, it doesn't look like they've got any at all. So instead, they're left with simply doling out endorsements of other candidates because they don't have anyone to run themselves. So that's sort of a sign that, maybe the whole Muslim vote thing was just a bit of a blip on the screen, and maybe they can't really get any traction because they just don't have the funds behind them.
Oh, they kept that demographic impoverished. Low-tier jobs, etc., small businesses. I guess COVID is hitting them pretty fucking badly.
Yeah.
But if they're keeping everything internal, they're just going to keep growing. If you just replace them with, I guess, Indians, I guess they might get drowned in it as well.
Okay, so, well, on the Teals now. Climate 200 has been found that they will be funding a raft of different Teal candidates around the country. They're now going to be threatening other Liberal candidates that they did not take on in the last election. For example, Dan Tehan and Julian Leeser. And they've been accused of what's called push polling. And what that is they're making a bunch of calls, not robocalls, but actual humans who call and ask people their position on certain issues. But they ask very leading questions that kind of can only go in one direction. And when they say, "Oh, okay, is that what you support?" Like, for example, on climate, well, the only candidate who supports that is the Teal candidate. And they've got a lot of people making these calls because, well, they're so well funded. So the coalition looks like they're really worried now about losing further seats to the Teals, even if they might actually win some back that they lost in the last election. So, yeah. I just want to know, like, how much are voters going to punish the Teals, though, for their power prices going up?
I think, again, a lot of Liberal politicians have said this, that the natural home for the Teals is in the Liberal Party. I think that the Teals just might collapse back into the Liberal Party. I think their little voyage as like an independent party was incredibly ill-fated. Shiny, new, in a time of conservative stagnancy. Interesting for the demographic that they made of the political party, which was the well-to-do, socially progressive, but I still want to keep my money so I can buy poppers and go to the gay club, as I've always said. But I think they'll collapse back in. Their blood is still blue at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, that was my prediction not long after the last election, because that was, when we really started to see power prices go up with the cost of living crunch. And I said that, look, a lot of people are going to directly blame that on the Teals, and with good reason, too. But it's just, I don't know, because they're so well funded, because they're running in so many seats, because they're now going after Labor seats as well. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I was wrong on that. I hope you're right, Nolsey. And I definitely did think that for a long time. But
Look,
we'll see.
Financial conservatism is more important to this demographic than their social issues are, because their social issues can be, excised privately inside their own McMansions.
Yeah, that's true.
And as you get older, you get more conservative. So I guess as these voters go, they just go more blue and blue.
Yeah, once they start running out of their parents' money and actually have to dip into their own account, then they're like, oh, wait a minute, this stuff actually costs money, and I have to pay for it. Why is my power bill so high? Maybe these policies weren't such a good idea. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about foreign affairs. We all would have seen the spectacular scenes from the Oval Office with Zelensky, Trump, and JD Vance having a fiery exchange of words.
Yeah.
When this happened, Albo came out and basically swore Australia's unwavering support for Ukraine. And he even went as far to say that Russia had imperialist ambitions in other countries in Europe, which was a bit of an unusual thing to say. But he actually said that Australia would be open to sending Australian troops to Ukraine. And I believe this is the first time he's ever said something like that. I mean, we have been offering aid, military aid. We've been doing that pretty much since the beginning, I believe. But we haven't actually sent any troops over there. Now,
well, I imagine mercenaries, special forces going over there. A lot of Australians have been
nationalities. Yeah,
I can get some of those liberal patriots probably died in the first bombing of those recruitment centers. That they're all taking pictures that all had their phones at and got hit by a ICBM from Russia with love. There's probably a bunch of Australians in that. Poor fuckers.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've had people who've gone over there voluntarily, but yeah, I mean, there hasn't been any actual ADF troops sent over there.
At least not officially.
Yeah,
the experts are also saying that the defense budget, Australia's defense budget, would have to actually expand enormously if we were to go and do something like that. And I don't think that, right on the eve of a budget, we're going to suddenly have this massive injection into defense just so we can go into Ukraine.
And dude, that wasn't even what the Ukrainian ambassador asked us for when he came over here, for the most part, because he did ask, for whatever support. I guess you could, gleam, fucking Albo's, comments as like, oh, this is a part of the support that we're asked for. The ambassador came and asked for the rest of the Bushmasters. The MRAPs we have are like our MRAPs that we made, designed for from the ground up IEDs, not from the top down artillery / drone attack. So yes,
slash a fucking aircraft shooting you. Fuck.
Yeah, slash an aircraft or a fucking attack helicopter shooting you. Yes. Yeah, no, yeah, he literally came over here. One of the first things he asked for, outside of his coat being pressed and taken off him or some shit, was yeah, like, hey, can we have the rest of your Bushmasters? Because we've liquidated all of yours.
Hey, these Bushmasters that you keep sending, they sell really well with other nations. Can you send us more of those for free?
Oh yeah, I forgot to ask. Did you hear about the sighting of an Australian Bushmaster in Serbia, Finian?
No.
Nope. Private buyer apparently has been parading around one in Serbia. Now, this is again through fucking weird little Swedish war mines. So, have to take it with a grain of salt. But apparently, yeah, they've been selling off equipment quite a lot.
Oh God. Oh geez. Oh
Yeah, yeah, it's like that.
It do be like that.
so you guys know we do have sanctions, not just against the state of Iran, but also Press TV, which is like the ABC of Iran, state media. Now, Fatima Payman, remember when she made those nice comments about Iran, where she said women are treated great there? They said Iran was a great place for women, and she retracted those comments, of course. She was actually doing an interview with Press TV at that point in time. She said that she was completely unaware that this was Iranian-backed media. Because she said
Oh,
she
shut the
didn't know.
fuck up.
I have a hard time believing that.
Shut the fuck up, you dumb bitch. You know exactly who the fuck that was.
Yeah,
Okay,
she
so
did.
you didn't know who it was, so why the fuck did you make those comments? You're fanning
Right.
someone's balls, Fatima.
Yes, it's very hard to believe. So, David Sharma, Liberal senator, former ambassador to Israel, former member of Wentworth, half Pajit. So he's demanded that Penny Wong, the foreign minister, investigate and properly enforce sanctions on Press TV because they are listed as an entity that Australia has imposed sanctions on. Now, this happened after, if we remember the woman Massa Amini, she was arrested for not wearing a hijab, and then apparently she died in police custody.
Ooh.
And that triggered these what looked like very astroturfed protests in Australia. I believe Drew Pavlou was at one or two of them. And yeah, we announced further sanctions on Iran, and that was part and parcel of it, was applying them to Press TV as well. So Dave Sharma has said that we need to further sanction them. I don't know exactly how you do that, though. I would assume
Apparently, a
that
policy look to engage with them. I guess
wouldn't part of it be like that? No one from the Australian government would do an interview with them. Would be one thing, but Fatima Payman is no longer part of the government. She is an independent, so I don't
still
think she's actually,
apologize.
yeah, she did. She did. All right. Okay, so just a few quick stories take us out. So the federal government has announced an extra $4.8 billion for New South Wales education. This is apparently the largest federal injection of funds into public education ever. So Albo was flanked by Jason Clare and Chris Minns in announcing that. There's still not really any talk about overhauling the curriculum.
All right.
Which is what I think they should do. And of course, certainly in New South Wales, we're seeing the continuing browning of public schools, which means that our grades will likely not be going up.
Yep.
So in South Australia, it's going to become compulsory after, in the new financial year, July 1, to be registered if you are a social worker. Now, some people say that that's going to bring further integrity to the role. Other people say it's just kind of like an unnecessary burden that will prevent otherwise good social workers from being social workers. I don't know. I always kind of have a problem with over credentializing everything, saying you must have this qualification or you must have this registration or whatever it is, because very often it is simply a rort. It is there for the government or for the technical college or the university just to simply cash in.
Yeah, get a certificate of social workery.
Okay,
Right.
so
Like,
I don't like this. I'm gonna take another direction on this one. I don't like this because a piece of paper, calligraphy, or etc. would legitimize the social worker when I want to retain the ability to look at them disapprovingly, like their father did, and do as much mental damage as humanly possible.
geez, you got a problem with social workers, eh?
From time to time, yeah.
Okay.
So a
Only on
social worker
weekends.
social worker can just be a nurse, right? Like if you're looking after your
A
parents, 'cause they're
social
older
worker
than
can
you-
be a fucking nobody. A social worker is literally just a person who is just there. There's the thing is when people say like, "Oh, social worker,"
They have
they
these
think
jobs.
that, like, yeah, they
Is a
think like,
dog
"Oh,
walker a social worker?
someone can be. It could be you. It could be that fucking brain dead vegetable in the corner, fucking drooling out of its mouth." The thing is, there's a big fucking spectrum of them. There's ones that are actually fucking qualified, which, okay, yeah, good. That's because they already have a piece of calligraphy. The rest of social workers are like, oh, I'm just as important as a psychiatrist or a nurse or something like that. When they are literally nobodies who do fucking nothing but, like, I don't know, check if a retard is breathing every 15 minutes.
Yeah. No, I
That-
think you've got a point there. You do.
Well,
that was
I
a
get-
job I had where I worked with a social worker, and he just fucking sat on his ass all day. He did basically nothing, honestly, and he was on pretty good pay as well.
Noise. Well, I'll tell you what. I got a bad bloody injury. I couldn't pick up anything. I eventually got myself a social worker provided to me, and we just did my laundry. Went out and brought me groceries, put them in my fridge for me, and yeah, just
Could you-
assistance
I mean,
work for aging population.
That doesn't
He
sound
wasn't
like
a
very
nurse.
hard work.
No. It was sweet fuck all. Just something I wasn't able to do whatsoever.
Could you slip him a 50 for a cool one, you know?
I gave him my credit card and told him to go grab some burgers. One for him, one for me. That was my thanks for it.
Burgers on a fucking credit card, oh boy.
Oh no, fucking debit card. Sorry, fucking
Damn it,
fucking
thank
Americanism.
you. God damn.
Fucking
God
Americanism.
damn.
I had to go into debt with this burger. I had to refinance it. Fucking
Finian
had to do payments for this burger.
Fluoride and I are suffering from the same brain rot because we hang around Americans too much, and you've like fucking pulled me on the fact that I've said gas station multiple times instead of service station.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with
a
him.
couple of miles to the gas station.
Yeah, you guys take on seppoisms, don't you? Because you spend too long in planet America.
I would say it's also because I watched The Simpsons growing up. That'll fuck your head like nothing else.
You know what's most annoying? Have you ever guys met like an Aussie who actually has like a mixed American accent, even though
Yes.
they've never been to America? I've met a few.
That was one of my
irritating.
that was one of my nephews for a little bit until my brother decided to correct that.
Well, they should be bullied. I support that.
Until they speak proper English.
Until they speak proper Aussie. All right.
I still catch like some kind of like remnant Irishness from you from time to time, Finian.
You what?
I still catch some like remnant Irish in you from time to time when you speak.
But I don't have any of the accent though. I might use some of the terms. Like I did pick up like some of that stuff from my parents, but I don't have a mixed accent though.
Mm.
Or do you
No, you
disagree
don't.
with that?
sometimes, you know, I've been around the Irish for a long period of time. I've studied the wily creature known as the Irish, and you know, the deepest, darkest of Limerick.
Think you're an
well,
Irish rose.
I found them. I found them. The orange haired Irish, the Southern Irish. I found a troop of them and studied them for 8 months. And from time to time, I do see a flicker of that in you.
Okay, well, you know that Limerick is like the Armadale of Ireland.
Oh yeah, I know. It's called Stab City for a reason.
Yes, it was even depicted on Family Guy, actually.
Fucking
Okay, so just talking about the Tasmanian public sector, they are going to create their own Doge, except they're going to be calling it an efficiency and productivity unit. So that is going to audit all government programs and apparently cut down on public sector waste. I don't think I need to go on my rant again about this. We already have, at like every level of government, something called an auditor general. That's their job. That's what they're there for, to like audit the government finances, find out where there's any wasteful spending, and cut it. It's not a new phenomenon. We've never needed to actually have like a separate standalone department for it, and it is actually, ironically, a waste of government resources in and of itself to create such an entity. So it's fucking stupid. Okay, now new reports come out saying that Australia is losing the war on feral animals. So even though, as we went through earlier, we've got an issue with certain species facing extinction, we've also got big problems with, well, I'll go through them. They reckon there are around 4 million feral pigs in Australia. There's been a skyrocketing amount of feral deer. So they reckon that they've actually increased their population tenfold in the past 2 decades. So that's going from 200,000 to 2 million. They reckon that costs about $100 million a year, particularly to the agriculture sector. And there's also been a massive increase in the amount of feral rabbits. And they not only, are dangerous to farmers, but they also they move into the burrows of like bandicoots and sort of force out native Australian animals. And yeah, we all know how quickly rabbits multiply.
They're ornery buggers. They will
Now, I was
bite
gonna
and
say,
fight other things.
I believe this is a war on feral animals, so I think that every able-bodied male should be given a straight pull Swiss Car 98, a whole bunch of 7.623 Mauser, 7.663 Mauser, and a good old fucking tagging license. That'll fix it up right quick.
That might. I mean, that's how the emu war was won. The fucking emus were shot to shit and back by professional fucking hunters. Nowadays, I imagine if you gave it to people, people just breed them and fucking keep the rifle. Breed the fucking deer, breed the rabbits, breed the pigs, give you them as hides in order to get a fucking money.
We're not, dude. You do know how much it costs for each pig, right? But if you start domesticating and breeding a pig, guess what you got? You have a sow, you got a domestic pig. That's not a fucking problem. Feral pigs, boars, not boars, boars, are an actual fucking problem.
I know. And
they like
and
to
they
kill
become that
people.
very rapidly. And
Yes.
they charge and fuck you,
They go
right the fuck up.
back very rapidly. And guess what happens if you try and domesticate a deer? Guess what you get?
What?
Piss, shit, and broken fences everywhere. Good luck. We're not talking about an Indian cobra situation.
I wasn't aware until I read this story that we have a problem with feral deer. Because I know we also have a problem with feral camels, and we round up camels and sell them to the Middle East. Do you know that?
Yes,
Highest quality camels you can get.
We sell the Middle East camels and sand.
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous.
Well, it's because It's good. We got silicate sand and calcium sulfate, calcium silicate sand, and that's good for construction. It's good for mixes as a mild aggregate. It's good for grout. Um, it's good for cement and etc. It's because desert sand is way too water absorbent. If you look at the zoom in with a microscope and look at the individual grains, because sand in the desert moves so much, the sand grains look like balls almost. They're almost polished to a sphere-like consistency, which makes them shit for aggregate, makes them shit for construction, makes them shit for water retention too. While normal sand, beach sand, ancient coral reef sand, degradation of limestone aggregate sand, that's good for construction because you get a microscope, it looks like the worst kind of kidney stones you could pass in your entire life. They don't slip past each other.
Just one last story here. This is on the maverick South Australian Senator Alex Antic. So it was a bit of a profile promotion that they did on him in the Australian. And it's about him being elevated to the number one spot on the South Australian Senate ticket for the Liberal Party.
Is the headline, please, Alex Antics?
Well, you remember he's actually got a podcast called Based. That's the name.
Based.
Have some taste, man.
But anyway, look, he has declared that the world has reached peak woke, and that now is the time that conservatives put up that fight against it. He reckons it is the ideal timing for it. Now, look, I'll give him the one bit of credit I'll definitely give him. Actually, no, I can think of two things. One was he did stand up against the ABC basically promoting Drag Queen Story Hour and also, perverts presenting Play School, for example. But also, he was the only one from the Liberal Party. In fact, I think the only one from the coalition to vote against the current hate speech laws that went through. Remember, it was like him and Ralph Babette. That was about it.
fucking Babette, Jesus Christ, that's a story on its own.
Yeah. But
I can see what he means, to be honest, because if you look at YouTube shows, you look at TikTok, etc. Is it encouraging from my point of view? Yes. Is it meaningful? No. What we're looking at right now is this new ascendant culture, this new, by decade, culture shift in the increasingly less European West, is vapid anti-social justice, vapid anti-feminism, vapid MRA, vapid weird kind of I love what a certain cartoon made fun of as Trumpism, where they played a squeaky toy after certain statements, absolute bottomless nationalism, or baseless or spineless or headless nationalism, really, and just things that have no real substance outside of the vapor cloud that they appear as an ideology.
I kind of look at them as all right, it's gone a bit wacky. Let's lock it in, Eddie. Hold it there and allow it to go wacky again when the momentum shifts for pushing this. And suddenly, we like the traditional trannies, not these new trannies who are fucking rock spiders.
Well, I mean, I guess we've been there. I think he might be right that there's going to be a harder swing, because I think that there was a lot of terror in the power elite over the past 6 years. There was a lot of oh shit, real, not puppet stuff. Oh shit. Now, granted, did the public see that? The public see that fear? No. any issue you've seen in the public forum, in a news aggregator, and etc., I don't think would actually be the issue. I think they want more stability in the kind of like Western Bloc nations as they get degraded, unfortunately. But I think that, they'll want to make some kind of, God, what was that one South Park joke? The average American looks like Dwayne the Rock Johnson because they're all fucking race mixed, but like, they have like some semblance of being American. I think there's actually, to boil it down, because now it just hit my head. I think that the power elite do actually at least want to be in the coming new geopolitical A and B. I think they want to be both A and B again. Well, of course they want to be it, but I think that was a genuine fear that there'll be a monopolar world.
Well, all right, on that note, we will leave it there. So, thanks, guys. That was episode 240. So remember, if you missed our coverage of the WA election, please go to theracer.biz and all the links are there. I'm back on Twitter as well if you want to follow me, at based... Oh, no, sorry. I'm thinking of my old one. Fenian Respawned, at Fenian Respawned, if you want to get me on X. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for listening, and we will see you next week.